Hey there guys, DMO73 here, bringing you the commentary for the feature match for this week. We have me playing a Little Red, true Little Red Aggro. It's green, blue, white. And Nick is playing the second version of our Kaguya control, Kaguya 1.0 control. This time focusing on the standby rules, with only having to pay one and not having to have the will requirements and stuff. So we decided to design a deck up, next kind of stage of buddy hop control, and give it a shot. So let's see how this goes. So, yeah, I'm going to be going first, and I hit that first turn Tinkerbell. So one thing to note is that this deck is not Follow the Yellow Brick Road. It is a fairy tale true Little Red aggro. It doesn't use any of the Yellow Brick Road stuff except for Glinda's. Other than that, so both of us a solid turn one play. Nick's getting his draw engine established, and I'm just starting to get aggressive. Gretel into a Cheshire Cat. Now I have a 600 strength Tinkerbell on board on turn 2. Nick's just gonna go ahead and decide to take that damage, putting him down to 34. And at the end of my turn, he's gonna tap for a draw card, discard a card. So he's just gonna drop that Mind Reading Fox, because at this point in time, there's really no point in keeping it. So he slammed down the destructive flow. Personal opinion, I would have also just gone ahead and spent the will to throw down a second standby. He's got that death sentence from the Queen, because I'm about to put a lot of damage on board. So I play Raveparth, which allows me to J-activate my Little Red. So now Tinkerbell's actually an 1800, because I have 4 fairy tales, because Crimson Girl's a fairy tale, and I get an extra 200 from Raveparth, and so now he's at 2200, because Tinkerbell's getting 400 for every single fairy tale. So he's gonna take some damage. He's gonna block with his Night of the New Moon, and I'm gonna deal 400 damage with my Gretel, and then actually do another 400 200 with my Cheshire Cat, because Cheshire Cat does get buffed by Raveparth, but then at the end of the turn all that stuff's gonna get bounced. So he was able to make some powerful hits with that destructive flow, kind of set me back a little bit, but if he had played Death Sentence from the Queen as well, he could have removed even more of my board, rather than just returning it out to my hand. Because I have that free time, I'm just going to go ahead and tap for a Stone with Little Red, because I have no fear there. Play another Gretel. Keep ramping up. And play another Raveparth while I have the chance. So now all of my guys are getting plus 400, plus 400. So neither Gretel can attack. They're actually swinging with Cheshire Cat to deal 400 damage. So the cool thing about this Little Red deck is it literally just makes all your small dudes really big, and you can even swing in with things like Cheshire Cat and just start beating down your opponent. So your one drops become very, very viable as heavy attack targets. you see him pay 2 life there. Actually, I correct him because he doesn't have to pay an attribute for the colorless cost. He can just pay it as moon. So he doesn't actually have to pay for any of that stuff. So he's got that jeweled branch of Harai, so he's getting started with putting those treasury items out in order to start controlling the board state. Tapping for another summon with Little Red. So I really don't have a need. I have no fear of Little Red being hurt right now. Playing a Little Prince. And throwing out my Tinkerbell as well. So I have a lot of damage on board right now because Little Prince gains 800 because of True Little Red. Little Prince gains 800 for each like total cost that's different than his. So just having a Tinkerbell or a Cheshire Cat makes him a 1,000. So with the 2 reparts, he's 14. So if I played a 3-drop next turn or anything like that, he would just be a 22 as well. So having these creatures that are just that large come out for such low cost is just is very hard for a lot of decks to deal with. So see, Longinus gets played onto that mermaid, and then Kaguya comes out. So now he's got the little lock where he can prevent all damage essentially to Little Mermaid by just changing the text of Longinus with Kaguya. It's a really solid play. Unfortunately, it's come a little bit too late because that Tinkerbell has definitely enough for lethal, and I'm gonna be able to get through it. I don't know why I tapped there, but I play Glinda, make my Tinkerbell unblockable, and just swing in for game. This Tinkerbell at this point is over 3,000. So we're in game 2. So Nick's gonna be going first. Again, I decided to keep that hand because I have some nice progression there. I have Refarth in hand. I have a 1-drop, a 2-drop, and a 3-drop. With the Little Prince. You saw there's an Alice in there. See that again, that 1 turn, first turn draw. Unfortunately, that is not what I wanted to see. I needed to see a light will for my 1-drop. That's the one issue that I found with the deck, is the fact that all the 1-drops are either white or blue, or either white or blue. So sometimes with the stones, you can just get the wrong 1-drop, and then you're just kind of out of luck. Because you can't play your 1-drops because you have no just solid green 1-drops. The deck doesn't run Elvish Priest or anything like that. So more draw engine for Nick, as well as setting a standby. So again, I didn't hit a light, so I have no plays except for to play a Glinda and make yourself unblockable. So at least to put something on the board. So Nick decides to use both of those Knights of the New Moon before his untapped step, hopefully drawing it as something that's a little bit better for him. Really good idea. Really good idea. Because it's essentially just 2 more free cards that he's going to be able to look at, and then everything's going to untap anyway, so he's just in a really good spot by doing that. So he could essentially draw through 4 cards this turn because of all those because of both of those knights. So with all that light will up, he's in actually a pretty good place because he could play Loginus, and then next turn he could play his Jewel Branch of Harai and then J activate. So he's gonna throw that Loginus on there on his knight, so he can start doing some damage. Now I could cancel with Glinda, but I'm more worried about Jeweled Branch of Harai instead of Loginus. Sure, I'm going to take some damage, but the goal of this deck is to throw on a ton of damage very fast anyway, so I'm not super worried about taking a little bit of damage early on. I'm more concerned about having all my creatures stopped for the turn. So I go ahead and just play that Refarth and J activate. Therefore, Refarth's going to give her plus 200 Glinda. So she is actually going to be able to kill that knight without having to worry about it, because 700. So she'll do enough damage to kill the knight, but the knight can only do 500 to her. And then he tries to activate Destructive Flow, but he misread it, so I let him know that it's not gonna work. And then again, he just uses that knight to quickly kind of get some extra cards in his hands. Just discarding that 5 challenges because it's essentially a free drop. Because as soon as he plays a treasury item, he's gonna be fine. Jewel Branch of Harai comes out. I decide again that I'm not going to banish to try and negate that. I'm just going to put up with it by throwing down a ton of Resonators later. Because in my mind, this is actually a good point to just allow him to J-activate anyway, because he's only got the one standby face down, and by flipping over to face up to J-activate, now he has to play 2 for every standby. It's that weird balance for the deck in terms of finding out exactly when you want to J-activate. And in this case, it was just better to let him have the J-activate with only that one standby face down, because it's now his tempo has been kind of disrupted. So as I'm moving into combat, he decides to go ahead and use Kaguya to change it to green and then tap me down. Not unexpected. During the draw step, he's gonna do that to draw some more cards. So I'm checking to make sure that this was a mandatory trigger. It is, so I should have been putting that back in his hand. But I don't know why. I guess I just assumed that he was gonna play another treasury item here in a second. Just thinking back to my judging at Chicago, that I would be getting missed mandatory triggers and failure to maintain game state warnings. So I attempt to cancel with Linda now, and he goes ahead and pays the extra 2. So he gets that second Jeweled Branch for Riot, but they're essentially dead for a turn. Then I remind him, he needs to put that 5 challenges back in his hand. During the upkeep, I spent my 1 green to get rid of my Realm of Evolution to try to search into a Fairy Tale. Yeah, so now he goes back in and he does grab those 5 challenges. He should have. It's a mandatory trigger. So anytime he successfully resolves a treasury item, he needs to put 5 challenges back in his hand. From this graveyard. It's one of the reasons why Night of the New Moon in this deck is so good, because it's just a free a free discard that you can just keep using over and over again. And I just cannot seem to hit the light. I don't have any of my Gretels, I don't have anything like that. I just can't seem to get into it. So I'm just staring at a dead hand. I'm going to use my Cheshire Cats to try to draw into something. And I get more Little Princess and more Alice's. A better call that I could have probably made with the hit, other than Cheshire Cat, would have been to just go ahead and grab a Gretel and try and ramp a little bit, maybe ramp into some of my light. But I still wanted to be able to put some protection on board that these jeweled branches can't deal with, because those are about to start really, really messing with me. So at least in this way, with those Ray Farts on board, now I have those. Yeah, see, there's another jeweled branch have arrived. So with those double Ray Farts, my Cheshire Cats are both actually 400 600s. So I can actually start doing a pretty good bit of damage to kind of wind things down. And he can't tap them down with jeweled branch. So taking advantage of the situation, putting damage on board where I can. That's the name of the game at this point. Grabbing those 5 challenges again for playing that jeweled branch. They just finally got some light. I started by playing a Tinkerbell, which will immediately put Tinkerbell at 2,000 power right off the bat. 4 Fairy Tales plus 2 Ray Farts. As I'm moving into combat, he decides to tap. At the end of his turn, he's gonna go ahead and tap down my Tink, and then use his Knight to draw and discard, and then moving into his turn. So he feels like he's got a pretty good tempo right now, and I would have to agree. He's got those 3 jeweled branches up that I can't pop at this point. Those are going to stay on the board forever. He's quickly approaching 5 challenges range to be able to bounce my field every turn. He's held off the board really, really well. So yes, I can put damage on board, but I can't get past all those jeweled branches of Harai. At least not off the top. Especially because he has that destructive flow on his side of the field as well. So as soon as I don't know why he. Oh yeah, he just moves too fast. I decided to go ahead and cake zone the Log Ice. So, because I knew that he was quickly approaching 5 challenges range, so I don't want him to get that, because as soon as he can start playing 5 challenges on me every single turn, I essentially lose, because he's gonna bounce everything every single turn. So everything I invest, like all the creatures that I put on board that I invest, I'll have summoning sickness, and so then he's just gonna bounce the ball, meaning that there's no way for me to put any damage on board. It's literally impossible. So he plays that Apollo Sphere to now get that 5 challenges back into his hand. So now we're at 4 treasury items. So during my upkeep, actually during my standby, I play Zeke's in order to play all 4 modes. So I actually shuffle his graveyard back into his deck to get all those 5 challenges out of there. I make my Tinkerbell untargetable for the turn, and I give everything plus 200, which is actually going to be plus 4 because of Zeke's. So now that Tinkerbell is going to be able to swing in, and is currently at 2400 for the turn. So in my mind, I'm thinking if I can just play a Glinda or something like that, then I can put 2400 damage onto the board. So now I'm going to start ramping, finally start hitting my light stones. You see I do have that Glinda, so I'm going to try and make Tinkerbell go for game by just playing as many fairy tales as possible. I don't know why I didn't just decide to go. I think it was because I knew there was, I was afraid of that standby, and so in my mind I would rather just establish a presence. So I attempt to swing in, and he just goes ahead and blocks that. So at this point in time, Tinkerbell is a 28-28. So I then start doing little pokes with my Cheshire Cats to do 400 and then another 400. And at the end of the turn, he's going to Destructive Flow me to put a ball back in my hand. So what I could have done is I could have just made Tinkerbell unblockable with the Glinda, and then banished both Wraitharts. But I don't quite know if that would have been enough for game, so there really wasn't a super big need for it. And then during my standby, he's just gonna tap me down with his Jeweled Branches. Or during my end phase, he's just gonna tap me down with Jeweled Branches. So the reason why I play Alice, the Guardian of Dimensions, is to provide my guys with protection, so things like this don't happen. Problem is, they've already happened. So I was able to get rid of a lot of those 5 challenge, a couple of those 5 challenges, or some of those other stuff that was in his graveyard. So that was helpful. But he's still, I know he's already got them in his hand, so at this point in time, it's not looking too hot. So now he's at 5. So he's at 5. So he actually couldn't play that spell face down, and I think I catch that here in a second. Because Kaguya is flipped, so he can't actually play those for 2, so that's a gameplay error on my part. Sometimes it's hard to remember that once she's flipped over, you have to pay 2 for all of those. Apparently I didn't really catch that he had to pay 2 for that again. This is just what happens sometimes when you're playing a deck and you get kind of caught up in the heat of the moment. You just gotta tend to forget things. So he did bounce me with 5 challenges, and so I'm just gonna take the turn to reestablish and put creatures out now that 5 challenges has come out, so that I'm prepared for next turn. So now I have that spell cancel on board, ready for if he tries to 5 challenges me later. So he's going to use Kaguya's effect to let him grab a water edition, because he can just change the text of Jewels on a Dragon's Neck and bring something back. He tries to play a second one, but he doesn't have one, so I correct him on that. It's not, that 5 challenges isn't an addition, or not, or apparently I don't correct him. A lot of gameplay errors on my side of things on this time. So now we see that bunny come out. That bunny is very big, very dangerous. Because it gains 400 for every single. Again, this is me totally failing to recognize that he has to pay 2. Oh, no, there we go. I do point out to him that he has to pay 2. So at least I catch him on that. But still, that bunny that he's got up in the air right now is very, very large. It has 400 for every single standby on the board, and so it gains an extra 2,000, and it's flying. So right now it's a 24/24 with flying, and I do know there's at least 5 challenges on the board. So I go ahead and just during my standby, he pays the 5 challenges, and I use Glinda to cancel it. Essentially, my only hope right now is to just try to put as much damage on board as possible and hopefully get through everything. But he does have 1 light up, so he can still tap down some of my creatures with those 12 branches, but I'm gonna go ahead and try and go for it. So I get a Cheshire Cat. So I drew a little bit too fast there. He wanted to respond to the enter. Cheshire Cat to tap down some of my stuff. I have Realm of Evolution, so now my Fairy Tales get an extra +4/+4. And then I'm thinking about the fact that I'm gonna have to take all that damage to the face with that flyer. So I'm trying to decide what else I want to use. So we're moving into what's probably going to be the ending of this game. With all those treasury items, he's going to be able to just put a very large amount of damage on my board for free. And with 5 challenges, being if he can put 2 5 challenges down on my side of the board, or even 1 5 challenge and I can't cancel it, and then I'm pretty much done. So I guess in my mind I'm just hoping that he doesn't have another one in his hand, but he does. We know that he does. The deck has been searching for long enough that it definitely has the 5 challenges. So he taps everything, he's figuring out exactly how to tap everything down. Plays another treasury item on the bunny, giving it 400 plus the 400 from Apollo Sphere, making it a 32/32 at this point. And he's got so much extra will that he can just he's got 6 will up, so he can just play 4 of it and put down 2 5 challenges, and 2 successful 5 challenges means there's no way possible for me to be able to stop him. So he's asking me if I have anything that has flying, and I do. I have the Alice, so I go ahead and let him tap down, or I protect my Alice, and go ahead and tap down my Tinkerbell. and then he just does it to me again. He goes ahead and taps down in response to my attempting to make my Alice hexproof. So he just swings in for a raw 3200 damage, putting me down to 300 actually, because I did some weirdness with the counter again. So again, just watch the overlays. That has the most accurate information in terms of life. So yeah, so there we go. We have 2 5 challenges on the board. There's pretty much no way that I'm going to be able to get through those, because they're both going to be able to activate and just bounce everything back to my hand. So I go ahead and just, during my standby, my upkeep, he plays 1, putting all of that stuff back in my hand, and at that point I believe I just go ahead and scoop. We'll see. Because there's just no way for me to get through all that stuff. So I play that in order to help possibly prevent a future 5 challenges. Trying to draw into some absolute cake zones. So I gotta stop those 5 challenges from happening. At the end of the turn I actually have to discard. So one thing that I could have done differently here is I could have played the Alice, tapped for a stone, and then had the cake zone up. So that would have been, I had 2. Yeah, so he plays a second of those Kaguya Servant, getting another huge body, so I just go ahead and scoop. So moving on to game 3. Got a little ahead of myself there with the flip over. So he decides to keep his whole hand, so I missed my 1-drop again, which is a lovely thing for an aggro deck to have to deal with. Phase 2 to get that Moonstone and pay it into a blue. So again, great first turns for him, not so great for me. But at least I do have the Gretel, so I'm able to start ramping a little bit more. Try to dig deeper into my stones in order to try to get those aggressive plays pulled out quicker. I have Glinda, Cake Zone, double Little Prince, and Refarth. And Little Prince is essentially worthless right now because I only have 2 drops in my hand. So I need to get those higher cost creatures, or lower cost and higher cost creatures than him in order to make him viable. So I play another Gretel, and I actually go ahead and use the stone from Gretel to go into Refarth and J-activate. So this deck J-activates very early. So now both my Gretels are 400/400s, but I still know that mermaid's gonna be able to kill me. So I go ahead and hold off. Even though I would kill it, I'd trade. I'd rather try to keep my Gretels on board to just keep them safe completely. Those treasure items come out. That makes her a 900/300, and then a face down goes by And so this is another play point where I kind of mess up a little bit because I'm not as familiar with all the newer treasury items as I wish I was. Oh, never mind. I thought he was going to attack with that little mermaid, but it's okay. So I played Glinda to make one of my Grettles unblockable. And I attempt to just swing in with Little Red for damage. He does block it, and I attempt to swing in. Should actually be 3,400, not 3,600 because of Wraithfarth. So I miscounted there in the moment. So he's got that Sign of the Future face down, and he actually could activate it at this point. He goes ahead and plays that Jewel Branch of Harai, which I just cake zone it so I can draw a card. I could activate Glinda as well, because he doesn't have the will to pay for anything else. But I decide to just go ahead and use Cake Zone to try to draw into some of my other smaller one drops, like a Tinkerbell or something like that. So now we're starting to see more and more standby cards get put face down. So it's a Destructive Flow. So now he's got a Destructive Flow and so forces the block of the Gretel, which actually should have killed the mermaid. But again, I'm blanking on things and blanking the Gretel. My Gretels have been pumped up, so he gets to keep that little mermaid for now. Lots of weirdness happening on here. So I got my Glinda out there, making one of my Gretel's unblockable for the turn. So I'm just loading up the field, and then another Wraithfarth. So, or not, or apparently a Little Prince. It's been less than ideal play from both of us, but I wanted to show off a little bit more of what these decks could do. So, pardon the misplays. So I do notice now that the extra damage, so I have the board set back to its original state of 40-30 in terms of life. They've matched up with the overlays now. So at this point, I'm kind of daring Nick to try to get a Jeweled Branch out because I have those two Glindas. I'm essentially saying I'm going to relegate him to just his standbys. To having to play off just his standbys because I don't want to get 5 challenge looped. So I banish the Glinda to try to cancel the Jeweled Branch as it comes out. And he does pay the extra 2 to make sure it resolves. So he was able to make sure it resolved, but this way he's all tapped out, so he can't even use it during my turn. And I tell him the Little Prince is a 1,000 at this point, or sorry, a 1,200 at this point, so his Little Mermaid's not going to be able to get over it. So he's got 2 Signs to the Future, looks like, or a Sign of the Future, a Cane Complex. So he plays that Sign of the Future, and I go ahead and just quick cancel that because I don't want to have to bother with it. Yeah, so there's a second Sign of the Future in there. So he could still activate it a second time and just banish my stuff, but chooses not to. Chooses to wait for something a little bit more pressing. Play out my Hansel, one of my 2 different 3-drops. So now my little prince is very large, and I play another Rayfarth, and I play a Tinkerbell. So this is what I'm talking about in terms of just putting out a ton of damage on board really quick. Just going to town. So now my little princes are 22/22. So he's at 2200, 2200. And so we see in response to that Sign of the Future is going to come out, and he hits both my Little Prince and my Tinkerbell. So my 2 heavy hitters just got removed from the game. Not sent to my graveyard, just removed from game. So really good. And now I don't have nearly anything big enough to be able to stand into that mermaid. So I don't bother wasting my time swinging in. So you see our jewels on a dragon's neck, so more treasury items are starting to hit the field. Just thinking about whether or not he wants to J activate, or just lay down more standbys first. So he plays one more standby at the free cost and then decides to J activate. So now he's going to be able to start tapping down my stuff very easily. So he's got 2 destructive flows face down. So he's got 2 mini board bounces available to him. Then he goes ahead and uses Kaguya's effect on Jewels on a Dragon's Neck to remind him that he has to grab an addition. He can't grab a spell chance standby. So I'm reminding him as well that he has to wait a turn. I forgot that Jeweled Branch is a tap effect, so it does have to wait until the next turn. Didn't do that again, so making sure that we're not moving too far ahead without reestablishing things. So I'm telling him about the stats of all my different creatures as requested, so he knows what he's dealing with in terms of what Little Mermaid has to get through. So with that Hansel out, I can just block his Little Mermaid, guarantee a kill on it, and not lose any creatures. So there's really no point in trying to swing in. So my main answer to combat is Jeweled Branches is my Alice because of the 1-drop, just free protection, as well as being a flyer. So I need to get that out there as fast as I can. In response to that, to the summon, he's going to tap down my Hansel and my Gretel. So before I can actually make them hexproof, he's going to tap it down. And then since that's already used up, I might as well play the Little Prince. So again, Little Prince is very big at this point. So swinging with Little Red for 800. And then he does activate the Destructive Flow. So a very good play by Nick. Taking the smallest amount of damage possible and then just resetting my board. Because Destructive Flow doesn't target. And now that Hansel and Gretel are off the board, 2 of my main threats are not here. He's still got to deal with that really, really large little prince that's out there, so it's still going to be hard for him to commit any damage to board at this point in time, but he can still start recycling those jeweled branches Harai because of his jewels on a dragon's neck, using Kaguya to change the text to light edition, and he can start just hard playing those, getting himself a lot of lockdown every turn. So we're reaching that point where both of us are kind of getting really into the groove. He's held me off for a pretty good amount of time, and I need to try and make some stuff happen. So, but he's also starting to slowly establish and get into 5 challenges range. So very close game. The life points in this, life totals in this really aren't important enough until one of us is actually dead, because both of us have creatures that can easily get to 4,000 in just one move. So during the upkeep, I'm going to go ahead and make my little prince untargetable. Nick's thinking about how to respond to that, whether or not he wants to tap me down right now or not, and he does go ahead and decide to let that through. There really wouldn't be a point in tapping me down right now because it is upkeep. I would just untap. So really good play for him to just let it happen. Might as well play those cards that just got bounced back to my hand. Play my my Tinkerbell, my Gretel, and my Hansel back out. Just decide to block with the Little Mermaid, but forgets his trigger there and forgets to draw a card. So moving into combat, he tries to lock her down. Let's just see what he can attack. He decides to lock down the Alice and the Tinkerbell, and in response, I'm going to go ahead and hexproof her Alice. He didn't realize that I could activate her hexproof ability more than once per turn, so now Alice is just a free swing in. So 1100 damage from her, and then Little Red swings in for game to finish things off. So there you have it, guys. That is True Little Red Fairy Tale Aggro versus Standby Control. It was close games. So yeah, let us know what you thought about the decks, despite our misplays, what you would want to see, and as always, like, comment, and subscribe. Deck profiles will be up on Saturday, and until next time, guys, this is DMO73 signing off.